From refusing to be brave enough to back an under-fire character or attempt at representation, to on-set cock-ups forcing a lot more hard work than previously imagined. These are those real-life blunders that Disney and Lucasfilm would no doubt like to forget ever happened. Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are the 10 biggest behind-the-scenes Star Wars mistakes that ever happened. Number 10, not really committing to Star Wars' first real LGBTQ big screen moment, the rise of Skywalker. An awful lot of fuss was understandably made over J.J. Abrams' comments of his Skywalker saga concluding Rise of Skywalker entry, containing a moment that would involve the LGBTQ community being represented in the film in the lead up to Episode 9. And despite both Oscar Isaac and John Boyega repeatedly hinting at their desire to see Poe Dameron and Finn, respectively, head down a romantic route together, their director clearly sensed the duo's relationship was a far deeper one than a romantic one, according to an interview with Variety. So the question of how Abrams, Lucasfilm, and Disney were going to deliver a moment that didn't merely act as a blink and you'll miss it acknowledgement of the LGBTQ community being present in the galaxy far, far away was on the lips of many heading into the 2019 flick. But in the end, that's precisely what the fleeting moment of representation amounted to, sadly, with the director and those behind the flick instead opting to sprinkle a 5-second same-sex smooch in the background late on, rather than a genuine attempt to lace a meaningful LGBTQ development involving two of the franchise's leading lights, a gesture that quickly felt like a backward step more than anything else. Number 9, bidding off Lord and Miller midway through production, Solo, a Star Wars story. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller look to have the entire galaxy at their feet heading into their Solo spin-off adventure. Yet despite absolutely smashing it with the likes of 21 and 22 Jump Street, The Lego Movie, and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, those dreaded creative differences soon reared their head in the midst of shooting the Alden Ehrenreich starring Han Solo prequel. And it wasn't long before the terrific twosome were swapped out for the reliable Ron Howard. So instead of unleashing the sort of outrageous and compelling comedy tale the two had made a career out of in the leads leading up to their Solo story, what was eventually delivered was a much more by-the-numbers slice of Star Wars that wasn't exactly terrible by any means, but it still felt like a shell of the flick that was once promised. Had Disney and Lucasfilm been brave enough to trust their original director's improvisation-heavy approach, maybe there's a world where a successful Solo outing could have paved the way for a wave of other epic Star Wars stories, instead of going 3 years without a big screen entry. Number 8, Consolation robs fans of a pivotal canon moment, The Clone Wars. Cad Bane's jaw-dropping arrival on the live-action stage during Disney Plus's The Book of Boba Fett, while admittedly epic, brought with it a ton of mixed emotions for those who had longed to see the blue-skinned badass genuinely collide with the titular bounty hunter on screen. Years before this Mos Espa meeting between the two sharpshooting entities, the Clone Wars animated series was set to unleash an arc that would have seen the pair ultimately duke it out in a traditional shootout back when Boba Fett was merely a teenager learning the bounty hunting ropes. However, the series Consolation on the Cartoon Network in 2013 led to said arc being scrapped before it could be fully realized on the small screen, with the only real glimpses of this epic showdown coming in the form of a previs clip uploaded in the thick of the Clone Wars Legacy project. Now sure, that is most definitely better than nothing, yet the fact that the pivotal simultaneous headshot moment that not only gifts Fett with his iconic helmet dint, but hugely informs Boba's complicated relationship with Bane is still only available via clunky test footage is a frustrating reality that Disney should have probably already rectified by now. Number 7, not giving Rose more of a spotlight after online backlash. The rise of Skywalker. The utilization of Kelly Marie Tran's Rose Tico, or lack of, on the back of her key role in The Last Jedi felt like a huge slap in the face to both fans of her plucky resistance maintenance worker and the actor herself. To simply roll over and brush Rose to the sidelines on the back of the character and actor being on the receiving end of a disgusting amount of backlash online felt like little more than the easy and cowardly way out for all involved with bringing Episode 9 into being. Instead of the creators behind The Rise of Skywalker giving online trolls the Force-sensitive middle finger and doing everything in their power to remind folks that this galaxy far, far away is for everyone, writer Chris Terrio would claim that the reason Tran was sidelined was to do with the difficulty of using Carrie Fisher's footage in the way we wanted to, with Rose originally set to act as the anchor at the Rebel base who was with Leia, before said moments between the two were said to have not looked photoreal enough for the finished article. Yeah, sure. Whatever way you slice it though, many, including Crazy Rich Asians director John M. Chu, believe that Rose Tico deserved better. Number 6, not having an overall vision for the entire trilogy, the sequel trilogy. Things got off to a decent enough start for the sequels, with J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens successfully juggling the heart some felt went missing during the prequel trilogy, with cutting-edge visual effects and a new set of leading characters. But then Rian Johnson opted to head in an entirely different direction to the one he was seemingly nudged down by the prior Episode 7 director, instead pouring water on the all-important question of Rey's lineage and ambitiously trying to wander down the anybody can be a hero route. On the back of Colin Trevorrow's Rise of Skywalker departure, Abrams was back again and quickly set about course-correcting just about every element he didn't agree with from Episode 8, letting loose Grandpa Palpatine among many other jarring developments over the course of his limp nostalgia fest. All in all, the sequel trilogy as a whole felt entirely disjointed and thrown together in the end, something that would have likely been avoided had someone been trusted to forge or stick to a single and clear vision for the episodes from start to bloody finish. Number 5, turning Obi-Wan Kenobi into a series instead of sticking to the movie concept. Obi-Wan Kenobi. The undoubted failure of Solo, a Star Wars story at the box office had a seismic effect on the way Disney and Lucasfilm told their space-age stories in the years that would follow, something that will again be touched upon before the end of this list. Had said Star Wars story joined the likes of the sequel trilogy and Rogue One as entries of varying quality that still managed to rope in the big bucks, there's a strong chance Ewan McGregor would have been gifted the chance to step back into his beloved Obi-Wan Kenobi's boots on the big screen when all was said and done. Yet Solo did underperform at the box office, and so instead of doubling down on what was expected to be a trilogy of Kenobi flicks penned by screenwriter Stuart Beattie, Disney decided to instead take the story he'd come up with over the course of a year and a half of scribbling for that first film and expand it into a 6-part TV series. And the at times underwhelming end result told the story of a project that would have undoubtedly benefited from both a 2-hour runtime rather than 6, and the larger-than-life budget likely needed to give Kenobi and Vader's rematch for the ages the sense of spectacle and drama a tale this anticipated and epic always deserved. Number 4, whirring cameras force a complete re-recording of dialogue, Attack of the Clones. By all accounts, it's safe to say that those tasked with bringing to life the various prequel entries weren't always over the moon to let loose George Lucas's questionable dialogue or commit to the moment in front of little more than a blue screen. So you can only imagine how soul-destroying it must have been for all involved with Attack of the Clones when it was eventually revealed that the cutting-edge digital cameras Lucas was using to capture the space opera magic actually produced a humming noise that matched the frequency of the human voice. What are the chances? As Obi-Wan actor Ewan McGregor himself would tell British GQ, they discovered after we'd finished shooting that they hummed in the frequency of the human voice, so we had to redo every single line of the second film in ADR. Thankfully, judging from McGregor's comments, it appears as though the audio kinks were ironed out a touch by the time the crew came to shoot Revenge of the Sith. Thank heavens for that. Number 3, focusing on a Cara Dune spin-off, Rangers of the New Republic. With Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau's unquestionable Mandalorian success, was always going to come the potential of numerous spin-offs for those found crossing paths with the likes of Din Djarin and Grogu. And with Gina Carano's Cara Dune stepping into the role of New Republic Marshal during Season 2 of the worldwide mega hit, it was later noted that Disney had the intentions of putting the former MMA fighter front and center in her own spin-off, with many eventually assuming said show would have been the eventually announced Rangers of the New Republic. Of course, Carano's firing from Lucasfilm on the back of the star sharing abhorrent and unacceptable posts on social media that suggested being a Republican today was like being Jewish in the Holocaust quickly put an end to said Cara Dune starring plans. But Disney continued to promote an incoming Rangers of the New Republic series until Kathleen Kennedy eventually admitted the concepts once planned for said show will figure into future episodes, I'm sure, of the next iteration of The Mandalorian. Disney clearly had the intention of making Carano one of their Mandalorian corner of the galaxy pillars, but it appears they simply backed the wrong actor for such a pivotal part in their universe and were forced to salvage their mistake in the aftermath. Number 2, opting to recast Han Solo. Solo, a Star Wars story. As noted a number of times over the course of this list already, the stumbling of Solo, a Star Wars story at the box office provided both Disney and Lucasfilm with a rather painful lesson, but it was a gamble that could have potentially paved the way for a great many other much-loved characters being recast and aged down for countless new prequel big-screen adventures. That, of course, didn't come to pass, however, and Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy would eventually go on record to admit in a Vanity Fair piece on the latest era of Star Wars projects that certain iconic characters simply cannot be recast, stating there should be moments along the way when you learn things. Now it does seem so abundantly clear that we can't do that, and said learning from this prior mistake can now be seen in Lucasfilm's newfound obsession with de-aging its many icons on the small screen for better or worse. Number 1, bring in John Boyega as a new leading light only to sideline him. The sequel trilogy. After being brought aboard and billed as a leading light upon setting foot in in the galaxy far, far away as the reformed First Order stormtrooper in The Force Awakens, John Boyega's Finn quickly found himself being nudged to one side in favor of centering much of the Skywalker saga story and nuance on the likes of Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver's Rey and Kylo Ren respectively. Fans of Boyega's conflicted and charismatic resistance fighter weren't the only ones entirely brassed off by the way Disney eventually treated the one-time prominent POC character either, with the star himself later telling GQ, "What I say to Disney is do not market a black character as important and then push them aside." Simple as that really, isn't it? So here's hoping Disney are wise enough to not make this sort of depressing mistake again in their future projects on both the big and small screen in the coming years. And that's our list. Know of any other big behind-the-scenes Star Wars mistakes that happened? Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more epic lists just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I have been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you as always. Thank you for clicking on this lovely video today, and hopefully I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye!